on true stories. It was the age of the Sputnik. Space was the in thing, a hobby for many.
Will we hear the men talking?
A teacher thought of a way to make his science lessons more interesting. What he did was discover one of Russia's most closely guarded space secrets.
Got it.
Ignored in his own country, it threw the Americans into a flurry. In Sputniks, Bleeps and Mr. Perry, 8:30 tonight, ABC. Ours is a most remarkable planet. The isolation of the Hawaiian Islands made them one of the last areas to be colonized by humankind. Unfortunately for the environment, they brought with them their life support systems. From the time Europeans arrived, damage has been accelerated.
There are so few of this honey creeper left. This is the first one ever filmed.
At great personal risk, biologists struggle to preserve some unique ecosystems and the island's stunning natural beauty. Hawaii, Beyond the Feathered Gods, 7:30 tonight on ABC.
5-0 to Werribee in the second quarter, and they seem to have taken control of the grand final. 24 points the margin at half-time. Well, it's been a tremendous build-up this week to the grand final at Princes Park. Lots of stories right across the media, and on Wednesday the Mazda Media Awards for 1991 were held down at South Yarra. And the two special guests were the captain coaches Phil Cleary and Terry Wheeler from the 1986 grand final between Williamstown and Coburg. And they had some pretty good advice for this year's captain coaches. It's the Wednesday before the grand final, the traditional day for the VFA Media Awards and the all-important preview of the big one in 1991 between Werribee and Dandenong. For the players, grand final day would be a new experience. With excitement, emotions and a sense of occasion very few would have previously felt. The special panellists on Wednesday had plenty of advice.
There is nothing that parallels that last 30 minutes in a changing room when the boys have, so to speak, got their battle dress on and had the oils rubbed on them, and the final words of encouragement from the training staff, and you're there just doing your final warm-up before you go down the race. And anyone who has been in that situation would go through butterflies, most definitely. And there is not much retention of what is put to a player and a coach in that situation. So, you know, all the work is done during the week and in the lead-up. And my final words to anyone going down a race to play in a grand final is, you know, enjoy it, son. It could well be your last, but it will definitely be and could potentially be the greatest day of your life. Because to this day, there is no other feeling than winning a grand final and running around with 20 guys who you've shared a magical moment with.
The last couple of minutes, I think, is just a time when players build up to fever pitch, and you have to control that. Sometimes they can go over the top. We've had those experiences. In '79 we started the game like that, and it took us a while to become relaxed. It's very hard as a coach to know where you draw the line. How excited do you get the players before the game? But sure, the last few minutes was just that great excitement, Tony. I mean, it's very hard to explain, but it's an excitement that you have to be in the rooms to actually feel it. Those blokes are going out, as Terry said, in battle dress. They're linamented up and they're ready to go. And it's a very physical game, football. You know, it's banging and knocking and colliding and kicking goals. The excitement is just one of the great things. It's the greatest game in the world.
Phil Cleary picked up an award on behalf of 3 LOs could have been champions, while the TV and newspaper awards were shared around. But it was anyone's guess which player would take out the ABC's Mark of the Year, as Peter G went through the nominees one more time.
Mark 1. Reno Preto from Oakley.
There's a chance. Brigson again. Up towards Preto. It's coming with a run. And a good mark to Reno.
Oh, that was a big jump, wasn't it? A big grab.
Mark 2. Jack Aziz, Williamstown.
As you see the good running off the ball from McTaggart. After he gave it to Smith, he was still available if needed. Aziz! Oh, superb! He's an exciting player, all right, and he keeps going right to the end of a match. The big palm initially to get the other player out of the way.
Mark 3. Dandenong's Rowan Welsh.
Milligan with 13 possessions. Oh, Welsh! Is it Welsh? It'll have to be. Who else leaps that high? Rowan Welsh climbing over Barry Round, over Tony Pastori, and marking it horizontally.
Mark 4. Dean Crimes from Port Melbourne.
Oh, too strong. Sullivan. Crimes! That's A great mark.
Here's the mark from Dean Crimes.
That is the grab of the year, I think, Toad.
Mark 5, Andrew Button, Werribee.
Moving Danaher and Drum through the forward line.
Oh, that is a great mark. Oh, that was a superb grab. Look at this on screen.
And Mark 6, Port Melbourne's Max Gasparoni.
Mine, he was just pushed in the middle of the back after he'd taken the mark. Gets up quickly. Gasparoni! Oh, what a grab with his crook hand.
Well, that's what they need, a couple of marks up there and a bit more directness in their play.
The mark of the year, and I'm sure this will make Barry Round just grin like hell, goes to Rowan Welsh of Dandenong.
Here, a bit of a lay-down misère. I think he's still bouncing there in the goal square, Rowan Welsh. I hope he gets to Princess Park on the weekend. Well done to Rowan, and hope you accept it on his behalf, Peter. Thank you. Peter?
Thanks, Pete. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Rowan Welsh and the Dandenong Football Club and every teenage girl in Dandenong, I graciously accept the award, and just judging by Tony Elshaw's comments, Rowan Welsh will be coming down to earth very suddenly tonight, so we'll wait for another week to present it to Rowan. Thanks very much.
The ABC's goal of the year was also a toss-up.
Goal 1, Brett Yorgie, Port Melbourne.
His kick goes straight to Harkins. Yorgie. Oh, City just bounced off Yorgie. Another superb goal. Brett Yorgie from almost an identical position has put the Boroughs 6 points in front.
Goal 2, Frankston's Stephen Hamill.
Stephen Hamill direction around Morgan well. Terrific effort. What a goal.
Goal 3, Rowan Welsh from Dandenong.
Staved off the first charge. That's Welsh. Off the ground again, goal number 6.
Goal 4, Ashley Byrne, Box Hill.
The forward line.
Taken away here by Byrne. Great skills, sold the dummy as he capped it off. Tremendous play. Finishing off the corner as he began it.
Goal 5, Coburg's Ken Ingram.
Sets up Ingram. Well, can he kick it? 50 metres plus in these conditions is a huge ask. The SWAT squad have done their job here. Not a bad effort. What a kick! I think Ingram's even surprised himself.
And goal 6, Frank Regolo from Sandringham.
Regolo has about 2 metres on Hogan. Wheeling around onto the left foot. Oh, number 4! And the best of the lot.
And I'm sure in 20 years from now he'll have said it went 75 yards, not 50. Ken Ingram of Coburg, and to accept the award, Phil Cleary, the Coburg coach.
Well done. As you saw, the goal's a much more difficult job to judge, but I think we went for Ken because he kicked it after the siren. For 2 quarters it had been raining out there, very heavy ball, and it went through goalpost high, probably still travelling down that way. And for the 3rd year in a row, a Coburg player has won goal of the year. Pure coincidence that Phil Cleary was on the selection panel as well, but he's come and picked up the award also. So well done to Ken on everyone's behalf.
Thanks, Peter. I didn't actually vote on this one, but I think it was a great goal, and on Ken's behalf, I'd like to thank Mazda and the VFA, the ABC, for the award. Thank you.
With Phil having spent much of the luncheon accepting awards, final word on the grand final went to Terry Wheeler.
If you win on Sunday, well great, really take hold of the celebrations and wallow in it. But if you happen to be the loser, all is not lost. There is plenty of time to regroup and come back, because football is, as they say, Tony, a funny game.
For the record, Terry went for the team from the West, while Phil stuck with the Redlegs. Yes, it was a good lunch on Wednesday, and congratulations to our winners. Rowan Welsh picking up the award for Mark of the Year. Tremendous mark by Rowan in the goal square, and he is still bouncing. And the goal of the year, Ken Ingram from Coburg. And a nice little boost to the bank account of Mr. Leo Gardner of Blythe Street in Altona. Congratulations to you, Mr. Gardner, on your win. That's our goal and mark of the year for 1991. Well, time now to go back to Princess Park. Lots of rain during the week. One imagines things will be a little bit boggy for the runners in the final of the VFA Sprint. Your commentator is Eddie Bush.
Yes, John, the ground is a bit boggy in a couple of places. They will have to churn through it. There's a spot down about 100 metres from the finishing line that they'll just have to battle through, and that probably might decide the race. But we've got a great field lined up. They've battled out for 5 weeks to get here. Tim Cherry will be the back marker from scratch. He is a young lad, probably the best runner in the race because his mark tells you that. He's been in 2 finals and run 4th in the other 2. Brian Meehan, who won last week, is on 16 metres. He has been in 3 other finals, very consistent. Jamie Finlay, Cherry's the favourite at 6 to 4. Jamie Finlay in the blue, who ran a 2nd, a 4th and a 2 finals out of the 5, which is pretty consistent indeed. He is at 7 to 4. The yellow, John Brannan, an unusual preparation for Brannan. He won the first week and then hasn't started since. The green, Darryl Nettleton, the most consistent runner, had the highest points up in a couple of weeks. There was a couple of doubts whether he was absolutely flat out, and he's sure to be a chance off 22. The pink, Phil Sievers, was the surprise winner in week 3. There's one over 400 at stall. The black, Jack Gallagher, who won that very wet day at Dandenong. The ground was underwater. That's Brannan, the unusual preparation. He won the first week and appeared the next, but not again. David Matthews, one of the quiet tips, a strong runner. He's in the grey. The brown, Steve Johnson, very consistent, and he makes up the second of the 2 runners trained by Brian Morgan. They're in the final, Jamie Finlay and Steve Johnson. And the purple, Doug Howe, I think he's been in almost every final of this race, even when it was called the Dandy Dollar. Now, of course, the Nike Sprint. So these boys, they're running for the richest 400 metres race in Victoria. Much richer than stall. It's worth $5,000 overall. That's split up amongst the runners. So the winner today will take out the richest 400 in Victoria. And they're probably pretty excited. Cherry, of course, people say that he's got no chance because he's got a 16-metre gap. But, of course, amateur runners run in their lanes and run their own race, whereas the professionals, a 16-metre gap to the next runner would probably put them out of it. Last week, about 3/4 of a lap from home, I took a look back to see where Cherry was. I declared him no chance at all, and he finished up only about a metre from the winner in 4th place. Howie, of course, at a disadvantage because the limit up till now, because of the prize money, was 60 metres. They're ready to go now. The starter has called them up onto their marks for the running of the richest 400 metres, the Nike Sprint in Victoria. They're on their way now, and Doug Howitt is the limit marker that's out in front. Then further back to Steve Johnson, who goes very quickly early. Then Jack Gallagher has began well. Then Matthews, it is the tall runner on the inside of him, the fair-headed one. Those 4 are well clear. Finlay, the one making up a lot of ground in the blue jacket around the outside, and Cherry's got a very big job indeed. Doug Howitt is still out in front. Steve Johnson pressuring him all the way. Finlay is the one that's made the big move. He's right up around the outside. Matthews still there, and Cherry the favourite well back. Steve Johnson it is that settles down. The 2 stablemates are in front. Steve Johnson out in front. David Matthews getting through in the centre. Howie is still there. Johnson is almost done. Matthews, as we mentioned earlier, the stronger runner. He's got to the front now, and David Matthews will take it out. Sievers might have got up run second. Howie a great run to run third. Finlay on the outside 4th. Further back then to Gallagher at the completion of the Nike Sprint. Well, he was the strongest, had a pretty good mark, David Matthews, but he certainly hasn't won out of turn at all. And he's the grey has taken it out. David Matthews was first. The pink, Phil Sievers, was second. And the blue, Jamie Finlay, was third. And certainly be very pleased man there, David Matthews. He had a bit of bad luck at stall a couple of times. He got rubbed out one day. And now we're ready for the presentation. So it's over to you, Ross.
Thanks, Eddie. Well, Steve Roach from Nike has the sash, and we'll take it over to you, Steve.
Okay, congratulations on a fantastic run. Thanks, sir. Probably over the last 6 weeks, culminating in a great run today. I've got a cheque for you for $2,200 from Nike, and also the sash from Nike for sponsoring the series. Fantastic run. Well done.
Thanks very much.
Well done, David. Lots of mud over your face, very wet on that other side.
It was sport last week at Port Melbourne, but it's very good. I'd like to thank now Nike, put on the race, and PRTA. I'd like to thank all my family and everybody. It's been really good, the training partners.
You're very pleased. You had a big smile on your face as you crossed the line. In fact, 20 minutes before you crossed the line, so we're going to get a replay of that. Well done, David Matthews, and thanks Nike. David Matthews, the winner of the VFA Nike Sprint.
Well, it was a great performance by David Matthews. He's one of the runners, I think he's been running for about 15 years, hasn't had a great deal of success, always pretty good competitor, and he'll be a very happy man tonight, so we'll be back again next year. So it's back to you, John.
Thanks very much to Eddie Booth. Congratulations to David Matthews, the winner of this year's VFA Sprint. Well, Martin Flanagan, yesterday in the Melbourne Age, in his usual wrap-up of the finals in footy, wrote a very interesting article. Of course, he was talking mainly about the AFL preliminary final between West Coast and Geelong, but he made a little footnote that people should take very close note of today's VFA Grand Final, especially those who love good old traditional Victorian footy. It still is a wonderful game, isn't it?
Well, it's time to test those lungs again. It's time to travel to the grounds once more. It's time to go and watch the big men fly. At the men in white, unfair, and cheer your heroes on to win or die. Down the race to the sacred soil, all the months of sweat and toil, they burst through the banner to the sound of a mighty roar. It's the sport of champions, the sport of champions, yes, they bounce the ball, leaping, straining, reaching to the sky. Fearless courage shows the way. With a dash and a goal, you lead the brave. The scoreboard's looking good, and you're feeling high. But oh, to reach grand final day, to see your team kick right away in the final siren sound to a mighty roar.
Yes, indeed, some wonderful moments from grand finals of the past. Well, you might remember last year Williamstown turned around a 34-point deficit in the last quarter to overcome Springvale, and one wonders whether Dandenong might be able to do something similar today. Before we go back to Princes Park, let's check the score in the Sydney Rugby League Grand Final. Coming up towards half-time, Canberra with 2 tries to 1. Penrith had the early lead of 6 points to 0, but Canberra leading by 10 points to 6, about 33 minutes into the first half. Well, time now to go back to Princes Park and our commentators in place to talk about what might happen in the final 2 quarters.
Thanks, John, and it's funny you should draw the parallel with last year's grand final, because just before that last goal Werribee kicked before half-time, I was thinking, this reminds me a bit of last year. I don't think Werribee have put Dandenong away like they should have, given the amount of ball